It's another beautiful day, beautiful Monday morning it is. Much obliged to have you join us on Nigerian Decides live studio of Independent Television. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun, and I've got my colleague here with me, Philip Omobi. Philip, welcome.
Good morning, Sonny Duke. Good morning, viewers. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. After days and weeks and months, and perhaps years of planning, preparations, campaigns, reactions and counter-reactions, all of those things that are usually associated with the election, the general elections, eventually one part of it held on Saturday, 25th of February.
Yeah.
And that's talking about the presidential election, as well as the National Assembly election for the Senate, as well as House of Representatives. And as we speak today, results have been trickling in. And so far, so good as at yesterday, we only have one state result for the presidential election, and that's the one for Ekiti State. We'll be talking along those lines. But let's just quickly look at some of the issues that dominated the elections, specifically on Saturday. There were challenges of logistics, yeah?
Yes, of course.
Challenges of logistics.
Oh, yes, of course.
Distribution of election materials to destination centers. That issue was very, very visible in certain areas. But in some areas, they didn't have that problem. Election materials got to the polling units on time. But in certain areas, materials were delayed. In fact, leading to INEC extending election time from 8 a.m. to 12 midday yesterday. I like to get your comments along those lines.
Well, if you ask me, a lot has been happening, and you see that Nigeria is at the cusp of political transition, and dispossessed Nigerians who are the chief and suffer excruciating poverty need a change. Okay. And they came out en masse to show and declare that they needed a change. And we could see even the heavy downpour of rain, that characterized some states on election day. They were not deterred by that. They defied it. And you could see results, a lot that were coming in, and many Nigerians were believing that a lot will be done in the respect of making sure that their votes count. You could see the challenges of pocket of violence in some places. They still were not deterred.
Yeah.
So if you look at what even transpired, in Lagos, where we also had some issues of pocket of violence, where some persons, hoodlums, miscreants, also stole the beavers. And the INEC electoral umpire, INEC chairman, already said that even at the point where those beavers are stolen, they will be useless to those who steal them, because they will ensure that they deactivate those beavers, and it will be useless to them. But Nigerians are tired. They need a change. We want to see this turning out in the results. We want to see Nigerians, really expressing their will, and is coming out in the results. I want to ensure that, the frayed nerves are calmed by the results that will be coming in. Yeah. So there's still intrigue, there's still suspense. It's one thing for Nigerians to exercise their franchise. It's another for them to get their will, it's another for them to get the outcome of what they expressed. Yeah. Because if the will of the people is suppressed, you make the government short, nasty, and brutish. Yeah. I remember the theory of Thomas Hobbes, where he theorized it as the Obesian pattern of life, where life is short, nasty, and brutish if there's no government. But even though we have a government, if the will of the people is suppressed, there's going to be some unprecedented circumstances which we would only hope that the results, and of course the collations that are going on in the National Collation Center, reflect that will of the people. And a lot is expected from the electoral umpire. And I could see the shivers, I could see the suspense, the intrigues on the minds of Nigerians, of the electorate. And of course, I could see what is before the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. You know, a lot is expected. But we just keep our fingers crossed and all hands on deck to see that the will of the people really turn out in favor of the electorate.
So it's a waiting game.
It is
it's a waiting game, and we keep our fingers crossed, as we always say, and see how the election results will pan out ultimately. But as we speak, yesterday, INEC promised that the collation of results will start by 6 p.m. All right, and then the National Collation Center was actually formally declared open by INEC, and subsequently we're told that collation of results will start by 6 p.m. at the National Collation Center. But that partially happened, because by 6 p.m., when the INEC national chairman and the various regional chairmen and all the necessary officials eventually converged at the collation center, we're told that first there was a glitch in the INEC website where people could easily go to and see results, because as a matter of fact, INEC had promised that we will be able to see the results,
of course, yes,
as it's happening. As the election is taking place, the results are announced, and then they are posted immediately to INEC server, and we'll see the results state by state.
Of course, yes.
And we expected that.
We expected that.
Yeah, but yesterday, you go to the website, you see nothing. And then INEC came up with a statement that they had a technical hitch which affected their system and made it impossible for people to see those results as we were told initially.
Yes.
And then we also told that results will be transmitted electronically. In the Electoral Act, that was a major talking point,
of course, yes,
with reactions and counter-reactions, with some saying, no, we shouldn't have results transmitted electronically. Let's go by the way of manual procedure. But eventually, the voices for electronic transmission of results carried the day, and it was imputed into the Electoral Act. What was the basis for this? It was because over the years, when elections are held, usually it takes for God knows how long before the results will start coming. So we thought that with the introduction of electronic transmission of election results, that will fast track the process from the unit level to the ward level to the local government level, and then to the state level, before you get to the presidential, national, or the National Collation Center.
Yes, yes.
But that doesn't seem to be what is going on now. We are back to what has always been, where all the collation officers or the returning officers will take flights, will take roads, and then they will drive through the sea and then converge in Abuja. Then they take their turns to announce the result. So you want to ask the question, what is the improvement with the beavers that was so hyped, so talked about in this election?
Nigerians were thinking that there is going to be a sabotage, or there was a sabotage, most especially after making that promise. Some say talk is cheap, but when it comes to an election as this, a nationwide election, and when it comes to the expectations of the electorate, this is not an election, that just started all of a sudden. There were plans, policies were made, and statements were made, and alongside provisions were made, and budgets were churned out, and budgets were funded, and meetings held at the point of the electoral umpire.
Yeah.
So Nigerians are not expecting anything but matching integrity with the words of the electoral chairman, talking about Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. I know a lot is up to him to deliver on this election. Now, this is being tested. Whatever he has said concerning how to get it right, he made a lot concerning the electoral integrity, the readiness of the electoral umpire under his watch to make things happen. Now, when we heard about the electronic transmission of results to the INEC result viewing portal, it was seen as a welcome development. You know, when we had the Beavers mock exercise, the performance that turned out, even the electoral officials, you know, who also said that, you know, captures of the fingerprints and facial prints and facial captures were really easy, were accessible. Nigerians were waiting. It's one thing for you to give a promise in that direction. It's another for you to give an impression that things will work well. But on the day of election, what happened? Now, although we can say that substantially the Beavers worked, substantially.
In accreditation.
Yes, in accreditation.
Yes.
But what also took me aback was the fact that even at the point of capturing the River State governor, for instance, Nyesom Wike. Nyesom Wike was almost thinking, is there a sabotage on this? How can you imagine the governor and even the wife came and they spent over 2 hours and yet the Beavers couldn't capture their fingerprints or their faces? That brings a lot of questions to the training of the electoral officials. Did they get it right in the training? Was it something that has to do with the technological setback at that point that made the Beavers not to function? What could happen? So if you're talking about that, then we go a long way to say that some excuses that could be given by the electoral umpire may not be seen as tenable. Because a lot has been given to the electoral umpire under his watch, and Nigerians expect nothing but the best.
Absolutely.
Distinction is expected, not anything less than distinction. It would not be welcomed.
Okay.
Because Nigerians are at a crossroad and we look at frayed nerves. Don't forget, we mustn't really politicize this or be economical with the truth. The truth here is that nerves are frail. And so these nerves need to be calmed. And I heard when he was even saying that, you know, the glitches were as a result of the nationwide exercise. You know, they were already having that aspect of the state exercise, so they were able to put that to test. But at the time when they now had the nationwide exercise, it came to them like a bank that a lot needs to be done to fix it. But what happened? We want to see the only way we can have electoral integrity in this election is when Nigerians are also able to view the INEC result viewing portal, and when they see that the results being churned out from polling units really match with the results that are found on the INEC result viewing portal. A lot needs to be done in that direction.
Fantastic. If you look at the only state result that has been announced by INEC so far, the one for Ekiti State, where the resident electoral commissioner for Ekiti, Ayobami Salami, read out the results for the presidential election at the National Collation Center yesterday. You'll see that Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress polled a total of 210,494. That is 210,494 votes, and is closely followed by the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, talking about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who polled 89,554 votes. And then in the third position, we have Peter Obi of the Labour Party, who polled 11,397 votes, while Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso of the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, polled 264 votes. INEC chairman said the commission expects the results of the other 35 states and the Federal Capital Territory tomorrow. I mean, as of yesterday, they said tomorrow, which is today.
Yes, of course.
So by 11 a.m., those results are expected to come in, and then they will be announced by the commission in the National Collation Center in Abuja. Well, we can't also forget that elections were also held for the House of Representatives, That's about 360 seats. And then for the Senate, 109 senatorial seats, all across the 36 states of the Federation, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. There's been some criticisms even with the Ekiti State results. The criticism is coming from the fact that when you look at the number of registered voters in that state, and then you compare it with the actual number of people that came out to participate in this exercise, the difference is just so wide. And so you have this challenge of results, coming out, okay, not really matching the number of registered voters. So this is just what it is, and it's really quite unfortunate. And people have also been making some unfounded allegations on social media, looking at the results from Ekiti State, like, oh, when exactly was this result computed? Because when you look at the result that is displayed on the INEC portal, underneath, you look at the date that is there. At the top, you have 2023 February presidential election or something. But at the bar line underneath, you find something like February 20th, all right? February 20th, all right? That's what you have there. So it's
that's a discrepancy.
Yes, so there's a discrepancy, and all of that needs to be, and then the time at that byline was something around maybe 2 a.m. or thereabouts, all right? So these are raising a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
A lot of questions that only INEC can really give us the needed explanation.
Well, a lot needs to be done in this. When we say we have an election and the election will count, it's all about the people. It's all about the electorate.
Okay.
And we look at where, they will say, as you voted, you wait for your vote to be counted.
Yeah.
And then we look at the promises that came with the beavers. Now, questions are also asked. At the point of, collation, and at the point of transmission of these results to the portal, INEX portal, if we leave a gap of a space of time, that could be testing the patience of the electorate on judging the integrity of that election. A lot of persons, the party agents, is at the glare of everyone, got to know the results of the polling units, at the polling units. And they want to see that results, at the polling units matching with that in the INEC portal. So if something is amiss, like you spoke about discrepancy in terms of accredited voters and the voters, the numbers in votes that turned out, a lot of questions will arise if there is, if they see any discrepancy. But well, I think this is the point where we must also say that it's not over yet.
Until it's over.
Yes, until it is over.
Okay.
Because I was also looking at, we must talk about this, I was also looking at the challenge faced by the election officer of Igwebe, that was at Igwebe, Mrs. Professor Omonigo.
Yes.
And,
we're expecting her here this morning.
It's quite excruciating what they went through. A point where they didn't even know where they were after the voting exercise, at the point where they had to put things up together and transmit. They were in a bush of where they know not where they were. It's quite intriguing that logistics were not properly made. A situation where you leave these electoral officials in the dark. You leave them helpless to their fate.
You just leave
and
them
they
to
now
their
have
fate.
to make use of their touches or their phones, to go through that excruciating moment. I think a lot of questions are coming on how was it arranged in terms of logistics.
It's mind-blowing, some of the shortcomings that are there in the public space in the conduct of the election. And the reasons are not far-fetched, because preparatory to this election, two key issues came forth. Number one, the issue of Naira swap, then the issue of fuel scarcity, petrol scarcity. And then we saw INEC chairman meeting the respective government parastatals in charge, the CBN and then the NNPC Limited, to have some reassurance that things will go well in terms of mobilization, in terms of putting the right logistics in place. We heard INEC chairman telling us that substantial parts of the monies that they need were released by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Substantial part will mean that they were good to go.
Of course, and there won't be any setback.
Yes, and some of these setbacks,
misgivings,
and the challenges and the shortcomings we are seeing with the logistics
things too much.
Yes, so it doesn't add up at all. It doesn't add up that you find electoral officials stranded in the bush in the middle of nowhere. It's unacceptable by every stroke of imagination. But I'm sure that Dr. Manigo will give us more on that when she comes here much later on the program. It's still Nigeria Decides Live Studio. We'll go straight now to start engaging our panelists for the discussion today as we await INEC's Collation Center election result declaration for the presidential election. Also expecting to update you with the results for the National Assembly election, the Senate, as well as the House of Representatives in the course of this program as we get those results coming courtesy of INEC. Once again, we thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned.